Okay, so let's talk more about all of this with David McCuan, chair of the political science department at Sonoma State University. David, always a pleasure. The president really sending some mixed signals here. Even if the president doesn't try to fire the Fed chair, I mean, what are the consequences of all of this politically, within his own party and really for other voters?
Yeah, I mean, look, there's tremendous economic volatility in terms of playing around with Jerome Powell's appointment. It isn't clear that he has any constitutional or statutory authority to do so. And markets will be rattled, not just the Dow Jones or NASDAQ, but the bond markets as well. We saw that certainly when tariffs were rolled out. It's not a good look. And it affects the president in terms of his popularity and the direction of the country, kind of that right-wrong direction and what's happening there. And that turns off voters as they're worried. The inflation numbers did tick up a little bit last week. We have seen that. Kevin Hassett's interview there wasn't quite up to par in terms of what's happened. And there are serious people in the Trump administration, like the Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, who would be a logical appointee to replace Jerome Powell. But he's someone who's like, look, you have to stay out and above the politics of this. This is Trump trying to enforce the direction because he wants those interest rates lowered, because he wants the economic boom. What this really tells us, Heather, is the Trump administration is now pivoting to a place where they're worried about economic conditions because they know that the pocketbook, the economy stupid, is going to really drive the second kind of component here of the rest of the year for their administration.
All right. So obviously there's a lot of discussion in Washington. A lot of people seem to believe that the president can't fire the Fed chair, unless the president has just cause to do so. Is it clear, based on the laws and previous court rulings, whether President Trump would even have the authority to make such a move?
He can try to exercise that authority, Alex, but what he has to have is essentially a case of fraud, some type of serious malpractice in terms of breaking the law. He needs something to adjudicate to have a clear path to do that. That's not the case with Jerome Powell. And recall that Jerome Powell was appointed by Donald Trump. So the fact that he might not go beyond his appointment next year, do you really want to roil the markets and roil politics to make the political point that's going to cost you and folks that are invested in the market or thinking about their returns and their retirement and their 401ks? Do you really want to go to that place as you're moving to 2026? So this is in some ways, I think, a little bit of a distraction for the Trump administration, but that's how they've been operating in terms of what's happened since the big, beautiful bill. And their worry about, they know economic conditions will drive voters and drive the base next year in the midterms.
Yeah, it seems as though President Trump may have reconsidered his position after the markets heard that he had met with GOP lawmakers yesterday, floated this idea. Markets were down. He comes out today, says, nope, not planning to do that, although I still might be. And the markets ended the day up.
Right, and then the markets were coming down as he was saying this, then rebound back. And then there's someone like Senator Mike Rounds. Mike Rounds is from South Dakota. He's no like willy-nilly, college commie professor liberal. This guy's a real conservative. And he said, look, you cannot mess around with this because it really is important in terms of the markets and where things are going. Apparently, Donald Trump had a draft of a letter that he talked about to fire Jerome Powell, but all of that is a smokescreen. I think there's a lot of this that really presents political problems for the president that they want to avoid.
Yeah, clearly the president doing some reconsidering there on that particular issue of what to do with the Fed. Let me ask you about another controversy that has embroiled the White House. The president continuing to face a lot of backlash over his administration's handling of the Jeffrey Epstein investigation. Today, the president criticized even some of his own supporters, many of whom are calling for a lot more transparency in the Department of Justice investigation into the convicted sex offender who obviously was connected to a lot of powerful people. Let's listen here for a moment to President Trump speaking today, asking for members of his own party to just kind of move on.
Dead, he's gone, and all it is the Republicans, certain Republicans got duped by the Democrats, and they're following a Democrat playbook.
You need to have all of make their decision. We trust the American people, and I know the president does as well.
And so you see that split right there between the House Speaker and the President. House Speaker Johnson among some of the prominent Republicans calling for the DOJ to do more and release more details on the Epstein case. Professor, why do you think President Trump can't get members of his own party to just move on from Epstein?
Well, partly because the MAGA universe is not only watching the news, they're listening to podcasts, they're taking deep dives into segments of media that communicate directly with them. And you can't put the genie back in the bottle here. And one of the issues is this affects base turnout in the midterm. So there is worry amongst Republican strategists that this could affect on the margins those folks who might show up and protect the president. There's still a long way between now and 2026, but this controversy is going to linger. You would think you would want to get ahead of the controversy by releasing what's out there, Mike Johnson's point, the point of other Republicans on the Hill as well, so that you could just get past this. But as this kind of lingers and stays above board in the MAGA universe, it's going to be a distraction for the White House, and the president keeps coming back to it as well, even though he wants to put it behind him. His Truth Social posts, which kind of lays bare and lays out, if you will, those kind of supporters that have been building and brought him into office 2 times, is problematic and is only going to add fuel to that fire. This controversy will continue to linger, at least for a few more news cycles.
Yeah, this division could in fact be significant.
Yeah,
All right, David McCuan, really appreciate your time today. Thanks.
Nice to see you both.
All right, coming up.